Alright guys, welcome to another episode of ARWP, the All Real Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Eric Novak, and today we have a special guest. He is a part of the Dark Order on AEW. He is number 5. He is Alan Angels.
Hey, what's going on?
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. You ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Alright, tell me about your first ever match.
First ever match was in September of 2016. I'd only been training for a few months, and of those, maybe like 2 months. And of those 2 months, I was hurt for like 3 or 4 weeks. So I hadn't had too much training. If you ask me, it's not long enough to have a first match. But, I wasn't going to say no to the idea of it. So I went out there, and I think it was a pretty good match for a first ever match. It was a tag team match with it was me against me and a guy, Tommy Maserati, versus AC Mack and David Ali at the WWA 4 training school in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was a pretty good match for my very first match ever. We did a lot of stuff. I ended up even doing an Asai moonsault to the outside and everything. So, it was really fun.
Oh, wow. Was wrestling always your main priority? Was that your career choice of your choosing?
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. I started training like just 2 months after I graduated high school. And that was mostly like, I've definitely always wanted to do this. And maybe if I went to college, I would have ended up doing it anyways. But in my head, I was like, well, if I don't do it now, I might regret it in the future. Do it while you can and do it while you're young. And if you don't do it, you might never end up doing it. If I went to college, who knows? Maybe I would have been sidetracked by something not as fun and more boring. You never know. You never know where life's going to take you. But I definitely always knew from the time I was like, I started watching wrestling when I was like 8. So probably by the time I was 9 or 10, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do with my life. So I've always been pretty tunnel vision as far as wrestling goes.
Mm-hmm. Tell me your first title victory.
It was actually at the school I trained at. We had weekly shows. They still do have shows every Thursday, and they're free. Anybody can go to them. And for a while, like, we were drawing like a good number of people. We had drawn like 200, 250 people, which, if you don't know, that's a good amount for a school.
Mm-hmm.
We were putting on these shows, and they were pretty banger, man. We were killing it for a school. I thought we had a lot of really good talent. I recently put out a post on my social media of just like who all has came from that class that's like doing big stuff right now. We had guys like most notably Austin Theory, who was just on WrestleMania. He's doing his thing on Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bunch of guys in Evolve, Leon Ruff, Adrian Alanis, all those guys. They were all on the show. And we had a pretty banger show. The first championship I ever won was with my tag team partner. We were called the Misfits. We won the WWA 4 tag team titles in like a like a triple threat, like I forget what we called it. It was just like some sort of street fight. It was a triple threat tag team street fight, and we actually main evented that show, and it was pretty awesome. It was really fun, and we won the titles. And I don't know. It's just like a very small. Looking back on it, it's a very small milestone.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, like, nothing more mattered to me than winning those tag team titles. So it was pretty cool, pretty special.
All right, well, if we're talking about like milestones, what would you say is like the biggest milestone for you in wrestling so far?
Definitely being on AEW and wrestling Kenny Omega. even though it wasn't in front of a crowd or anything, like, wrestling a guy the caliber of Kenny Omega is insane. And, like, I was talking to a fellow wrestler about this. Like, it's so different just being in the ring with somebody that's really good. And it's nothing I can really explain. It's just when you're in the ring with someone that's really good, you know. Like, it's just a different kind of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like you have to be really good to keep up, and you kind of feel it when you're in there. I've trained with guys like Darby Allin before. Like, we've done some stuff in training, and he's another one of those guys that, like, you got to be able to keep up with him because he is so damn good.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Kenny Omega, and just being on TV in front of that many people, definitely a huge milestone. And I'm definitely really grateful that I got to do it, and I'm definitely really grateful that he let me get in as much stuff as I did,
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, of course. We'll talk about that match with Kenny Omega a little bit later in the interview because I don't want to, bombard you with all that AEW stuff.
Yeah.
So for now, let's just talk about, what goals are you setting yourself currently? Like, after the pandemic, what are your main goals after what's been happening to you throughout 2019 and during 2020?
Right now, I would like to just use this momentum from the AEW bookings and just get on some bigger indie shows, man. Try and get across the country, or maybe to Europe or Japan or wherever, and just try and get a lot of reps in with a lot of good wrestlers, and just use this momentum to get really good bookings and get my name out there even more as far as indies go. I've done a few indies, like I've been wrestling on the indies for about 4 years, mostly in the Southeast,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been doing a lot of good stuff down here. But I'd really like to just get out there more.
All right. Can you tell me 3 matches that you had that you would want everyone to watch, other than the ones that were on AEW, ones that were independent that you think everyone should watch because not only you but your opponent hit an amazing 5-star match? For me personally, if I had to give it to you, I think you and Anthony Henry was one for me, and you and QT Marshall was really good with me. There's one more, but I'm forgetting the name of the other opponent. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, I really like the Anthony Henry match, man. That's a really good one. I'm really proud of that match. Just what me and him did out there. Thought we told a really good story of just 2 dudes just fighting. Like, I love that kind of. I don't want to call it strong style, but I just like the idea of 2 dudes just going out there and really just fighting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm more into that side of the art as opposed to the, I guess, entertaining side, if that's what you want to call it. It's all entertainment, but I really like just 2 dudes going out there and fighting. I really like my match with Zachary Cooper from Action last year in December. That was one of my favorite matches from last year. I also really liked my match with Tommy Maserati. It was his last match. It was also at Action. It was his last match he ever had. So, that's definitely up there for sure.
All right, that's awesome. All right, tell me now, 3 guys that you would love to face that you haven't faced yet.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a hard one. There's so many guys that I want to wrestle. I really want to wrestle. There's this one guy. Let's see. I'd love to have a one-on-one match with Darby Allin. That would be awesome. He's, just an insane talent that I've always wanted to get to have a match in front of a crowd with. He's definitely on the list. Suge D, I think, would be a really fun match. Pineapple Pete, as he's known right now. And I'm trying to think of someone else. Let me see. I really like wrestling big guys, like guys way bigger than me. So if I had to say one more, I'd probably say Brian Cage. I think he's a really good big guy.
Oh, wow. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I think we'd have a great match.
All right. Now, tell me things that inspired you to be a wrestler. We talked about the journey. We talked about, the training. Tell me what inspired you to do wrestling.
What inspired me? I guess just, watching it every week. I watched it every week when I was a kid. I never missed anything. If I had to miss a week of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, I tried my best to record it or whatever. And if it didn't get recorded for whatever reason, whether it be just we forgot or like I had a jank ass VHS player or whatever that recorded it, I got so upset about it because that was. I was like constantly thinking about it all the time. I mean, I was obsessed with pro wrestling. So, yeah, I would say that's just pretty much my inspiration. It just comes from, just being obsessed with it and like the larger than life characters that I saw on TV week in and week out. I mean, my dad watched wrestling when he was a kid, and then kind of passed it on to me when I was a kid. And he watched wrestling quite a bit. And I watched wrestling when I was a little kid, like whatever, 3 or 4 or whatever. But I ended up telling my preschool teacher to know her role and shut her mouth. and it was no more wrestling from then on out until I guess I was just flipping through the channels one day when I was like 8 and I found it. And ever since then, it was a wrap.
All right. So we get it. So it's basically watching wrestling. Now give me 5 wrestlers that inspired you. 5 wrestlers that you were watching and you were like, "That's awesome. These are the guys that I focus on. These are the guys that I kind of want to replicate something out of them."
Yeah. Early on, it was probably the 2 most notably would be Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio. And that's almost like a generic answer nowadays, that Shawn Michaels is everyone's favorite. But, yeah, I just loved him, man. Like, I just thought he was great. Even when I was a kid, like, I just recognized, like, how good of an artist he was, Later on, it was probably, like, CM Punk, and then even later, guys like Johnny Gargano and Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins. Those were my guys. As I was getting to the age where I started wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. So tell me your style of wrestling. You talked about it a little bit when we were talking about, opponents. What would be your style of choice when it comes to wrestling? Because you hit a lot of amazing combos. You're definitely a good, quick wrestler, high flyer. What would you say would be your main style?
Main style would probably have to be like, I don't know if I want to call it strong style. I guess just like a realistic style. I do a lot of striking stuff, so I guess I'm kind of a striker. But I also, I take it to the air sometimes, so I'm kind of on the high flying side,
Mm-hmm. All right.
So,
tell me some places
like that.
Sorry.
Ahead.
Repeat that?
Oh, I wasn't saying anything. Go ahead.
Okay. Tell me some places you traveled that mean a lot to you.
Places that I traveled. I really enjoy going to Nashville whenever I do. We have a show up there called Sup Graps. They're on IWTV, and they're a really cool promotion. I love going to Nashville. I think Nashville is an awesome city. The Strip is really fun, and it's just always a good time. The people are awesome. Everybody's super nice. And I also really like going to DC. Supposed to go back again in June. I don't know if that's happening. I don't think it is, but yeah, I really love DC. I think it's a really cool place. We went there. We had a show one night, but we went there super early in the day so that we could just go to the monuments and check all that stuff out because, I just think all that stuff is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. What are some future sites you would like to see while wrestling?
Sites? I everywhere, man. I think if I wasn't a wrestler, I would hopefully be doing something with travel, like to make a living, because I love doing it so much. I think it's so cool to see stuff. I would love to go to California. Just the beaches over there. I'd love to go to Venice Beach and stuff like that. I also really want to go to like Nevada and Arizona and around there. I'd love to see the Grand Canyon one day. I think the desert is super cool. Even though it's super hot, I would love to go there and just check it out. I think it's so, because I remember I went to Texas one time, and it's just being from Georgia, like there's trees everywhere. Like you can't really look anywhere and not see trees. But you go to Texas and it's just desert, and it's so flat, and there's not really that many trees. And it's like you never really think about it until you go there. And you're like, like there's no trees around. Like it's a small thing, but it's just really weird to see. So I think it's super cool going to the desert and stuff. And of course, I'd love to go to Europe and just see all the stuff around there. I'd love to see the Eiffel Tower, and I've always really wanted to go to Venice, Italy. That's like definitely bucket list item. I don't know if they have any wrestling there, but if they did, I would love for them to book me.
Of course.
Yeah, and like Australia is a big bucket list item as well. I think Australia seems really cool. But yeah, hopefully my travels take me there.
Yeah, I hope we see you there soon. So,
For sure.
tell me about the largest crowd you ever worked in and the smallest crowd you ever worked in, and tell me, the experience from both.
Yeah, so smallest crowd I ever worked in was at a little place called Landmark Arena in Cornelia, Georgia. Maybe like an hour from where I live, honestly. And it's actually where they used to have NWA Wildside, which was kind of a feeder for WCW back in the day. But we had a show there one time, and they do okay numbers sometimes. They'll do a good few hundred, but this particular show, we only had probably 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
So besides the empty arena shows that I've been doing recently, that's probably the smallest crowd I've ever worked in front of. And from that, I'd say honestly, just I'd learned to really project when I'm in the ring, and really make sure that if it's quiet in the ring, it shouldn't be. It should always sound like something's going on. It's because it's just awkward. And if you're also in a real fight, you would be making a lot of noise. You'd be grunting, you'd be screaming, doing whatever. So I think, and when there's no crowd, you really notice it. When there's a crowd, there's always someone talking at least. But when there's no crowd, it gets awkward when there's no noise. So you gotta really try and just project and really vocalize everything that you're doing. Biggest crowd, probably it was a few months after I first started. Actually, I kind of got lucky, and I did a show in Dallas. AR Fox, my trainer, he took me to a show that he was doing in Texas, and it was called I don't remember what the name of the show was called, but we had maybe I heard it was 2,000 people.
Wow.
Which is a pretty big number for especially if you just had only been wrestling for a few months. It was a pretty big deal for me. And I ended up doing an Asai moonsault to the outside, but I accidentally flipped over the barricade and spilled a dude's beer. So he got pretty pissed by that. From that, I think it's all about just learning to make everything you do in the ring a big deal. You want to make sure that everybody knows what you're doing. Because there's definitely a difference from wrestling in front of a small crowd versus wrestling in front of a big crowd. In front of a big crowd, you know, you can point one person out or whatever, but, you know, it doesn't really pay off like it pays off with a small crowd. If you're in a small crowd, you start shit talking to, one fan, like a lot of people are going to hear it and it'll have an adversely effect on the match,
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in a big crowd and you're picking out one person to, talk shit to or, interact with, if you're a face, it's not gonna do that much. So when you're in front of a big crowd and you're in the ring, you want to make sure everything looks big. Everything is like every fan in there that's even in the back row understands what's going on. Because if every fan doesn't understand what's going on, then it's kind of, it's a dud, and you want to make sure that every fan that paid for their seat, gets what they paid for. So, yeah.
All right, now tell me that. By the way, those were amazing. I want to say interpretations. I felt that, and I actually could imagine the scenarios. So that was really you explained it very well. Tell me now.
Thank you.
The strangest place you've ever worked in, like the strangest arena, or strangest match. I've had answers that you'd be surprised.
No, I bet you had some crazy answers to that. I don't think mine's that crazy, honestly. I've let's see. I've had matches where, we ended up brawling to the outside and stuff like that. And wrestling in the parking lot and stuff like that. I'm trying to think. Craziest? I don't know. Like I said, a lot of the stuff I do isn't too crazy. It would probably have to be something that I did at the WWA 4 when we were doing some empty arena shows. I know one of the funniest matches I ever had was the whole match we were just working a headlock and we were working it like it was the other guy's finish, and then and it was one of those matches where other wrestlers were the crowd basically.
Mm-hmm.
So we so they got it, and every time he would go for a headlock, everyone would pop really loud and freak out, and then by the end of the match, he gets me in the headlock, and I almost get to the ropes, but he turns me back around and gives me a headlock takeover, and I end up tapping out to the headlock takeover. So yeah, I haven't had any really wonky matches, especially compared to, I'm sure, a lot of the guys you've had on, but that's probably one of the funniest for sure.
No, yeah, that's I never heard of matches just a headlock.
yeah, that was his finish, just the headlock takeover.
All right. What gold are you trying to catch in the future? Like, what titles have you had your eye on and that you will get when this is over?
I would love to one day get some AEW gold. I don't know what it would be, but I would love to. I'm setting the bar high with that one. I would love to get my hands on some AEW gold. More closely in the future, I'd say the PWX Pure title. I'd really love to get my hands on that. I've wrestled for it once. Didn't come out successful, but hopefully, tables will turn and I'll get another shot at it, and I'll get that around my waist. I'd also really like the Action title. I've been wrestling there for a long time now, and it's been in the back of my mind for a while, and I'd really like to take it off of AC Max, who has that title right now. I'd also, I'd really like to go to a Northern company, and I don't know what it would be, but I really just want to get some gold in some other states. I think I've yet to hold a belt that wasn't in a company based in Georgia. So if I could win a belt that's based in a different state, that'd be a small milestone for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Tell me more about your gear. I'm a big gear person, and I really like your look. Tell me how you decided to have, the look that you do. Because it's not a normal It's not a normal like wrestler tights, or bottoms. You have like an actual interesting look.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do really like my gear. I'm probably gonna get some more soon, but surprisingly, my gear inspiration as far as like the biker tights go was from Shelton Benjamin. I don't know why. I think I just really liked how he looked in the biker tights and the kick pads. So I guess that's where I got it from. But and then I have the little banner on the side that I don't know. I guess that's just kind of like my trademark now. I do like the little banner that's there. Chris Daniels actually said that I have unique gear, so I think that's a good sign. And I don't know where I came up with it. I think I just one day I just talking to my gear maker, and I was like, "Hey, you think it would be cool if I put like a little banner down the side?" He said, "Yeah." So, and he made it, and I really liked how it came out, so I just kept it. I think a few more people are doing that now with the flap hanging off of the side, or whether it be off the side or in the front. But I think I'm gonna keep it. I do really like it.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it does add a good addition to the gear. So yeah, you should definitely keep it. It definitely looks good with it.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, now tell me the worst injury you've suffered. If it's a concussion or it's literally breaking an arm or a leg, tell me like what was like the most painful thing you had to endure during a match.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a few concussions, and those suck for sure. So probably in the long run, it's probably any concussion that I've had. But like one that hurt right away the worst was I fractured my fibula, which is the smaller bone in the bottom half of your leg. I was trying to do something where I came off the top rope and I jumped sideways to onto a guy's chest who was like leaning on the top rope. So I jumped from the top to his chest and did a backflip. And I kind of went sideways, and they didn't really catch me that well, and my leg just landed awkwardly, and I fractured my fibula. And I remember as soon as it happened, I got up and I said, I looked down at the guy I just hit it on, and I said, whatever I said maybe I broke my leg or something like that. And like I knew right away, and
Yeah.
I ended up wrestling for 15 more minutes right after that. So I was just like limping and hobbling around. It's actually one of my favorite matches. I did it when I was like, let's see, this is probably February of 2017. So I wasn't even a year in yet, and I had a broken leg. But it was a really good match, and I really like it. Obviously, it's like not one of my best matches because I was super green at the time, but I really liked it at the time, and it's definitely one of my favorite matches just because I wrestled for 15 minutes on a broken leg, and I don't know if that made it worse or not. It probably did, but I had to finish the match. I kind of pride myself on always trying to finish the match. I've had a few concussions that were pretty bad that somehow I ended up finishing the match as well. Besides that, it's mostly just like knee stuff. I've dislocated my kneecap 3 times. I haven't done it lately, so that's good. It's been about a year and a half since I dislocated my knees, so that's a good sign. But that's pretty much it, I think, as far as injuries go. The worst one was definitely the leg break. It didn't take that long to heal, though, so that's good.
Yeah, that is really good. All right. This is a hard one, so just really think about it. Imagine I gave you a contract for every company. It could be MLW, NWA, WWE, Impact, ROH, New Japan, AEW. The list can go on. Where would you like to start? I believe that wrestlers should always jump around companies and then have, their end, start, go. So where would you like to start your wrestling career if I gave a contract with every company?
Yeah, I mean, right now my goal is kind of AEW. I feel like it's where not only where the money is, but it's also, the I think a few years from now it could be the number one promotion in the entire world, taking over WWE. So that's where I would like to see my future go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of the main focus right now. Obviously, I don't want to limit myself. So if MLW or NWA were to offer me anything, I would definitely take it. And I do think those promotions are very, very good promotions. And also at the end of the day, WWE is the place to be right now. But yeah, AEW is definitely the goal, and I do think it'll be the number one promotion a few years from now. So yeah, I would probably say AEW for sure. But like I said, I don't want to. It's not like tunnel vision. I'm not dead set on it. I would love to. Like I said, I'd love to travel all over the world. Even if New Japan were to offer me something, I'd be glad to take it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's get closer to the AEW stuff, because I just want to know. I want everyone else who's listening to know exactly where you are with AEW. We know that you have a match with Ray Phoenix coming up.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited about that one. Ray Phoenix is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best luchadors of all time. And I've never really had the opportunity to wrestle somebody that's just specifically lucha trained. I've wrestled some luchadors that, are from America, but, Ray Phoenix is just about as lucha as you get, So I'm super excited about that, and I think we should have a killer match.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, your I want to say contract, even though it may not even be a contract, but tell me the experience. Tell me what was the phone call. Tell me how AEW reached you, and then tell me what, if you're allowed to, tell me what you guys talked about for the future. Because you've been booked for a few good matches, and we'll get to those matches, but tell me just the call-up for AEW for you.
Yeah, no, I haven't signed any dotted line or anything like that, but, I'd love, like I said, I'd love to. But mostly it was just from QT Marshall, who is, kind of the guy in charge of getting extras and stuff like that. And I'd done a few extra spots beforehand where I was either in a Dark Order mask or what have you, or
that was literally gonna be my my final question as a little joke. I was actually gonna ask. I was gonna be were you one of the guys from the Dark Order? I was literally gonna ask that.
Yeah, I've done my fair share of that. Yeah, so I've been backstage at AEW quite a few times, and sometimes we don't even end up doing anything. But it's always good to just show your face backstage and have guys know your name and know who you are and stuff like that. So I'm always glad to just be back there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'd done that a few times, and then once the pandemic happened, we were kind of short on talent, just because people, whether it being trapped in their homes or just they didn't feel comfortable coming, they were kind of short on people. So the opportunity came about to wrestle Kenny. And of course, I said, yeah, So, yeah, it was just a really cool experience. Just being back there and being part of the show and stuff like that. And luckily, he let me get a good amount of stuff in, And that's not me politicking my way into getting more stuff in. He legitimately wanted to have a good match. So, yeah.
Yeah, I watched that match and I was it wasn't an easy 1, 2, 3. You guys actually had a good fight. You actually hit some combos on him. You literally pulled the rug from under him. There was a lot of good stuff from that match, and I really enjoyed that match. Tell me more about you mentioned Lance Archer, because I'm pretty sure that one had to give you some kind of I want to say fear. I mean, he's huge, and he basically throws people. So tell me that experience of fighting someone like Lance Archer.
Yeah, well, like I said, I love wrestling big guys. I love just the whole underdog story, and I think we were talking about earlier, for a bigger audience, wrestling a big guy and because then you have to make everything look big. Because if you don't make everything look big and, your shit looks weak, then it's just, it's kind of a waste, you gotta really work it.
Mm-hmm.
Working Lance was awesome. He's a cool dude. Don't want to ruin his character or anything, but, and I was probably more nervous about that match just because of how big he is and knowing that he could probably just kill me if he wanted to, like for real. So, that was a really fun match, and I like doing that. So, and he, I took his little choke slam throw thing over the head throw pretty good, and he said he appreciated that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, anything upcoming. Like, tell me any match that you've taped or you've done that you're excited for them to release soon. Like, if it's an AEW Dark match or it's an AEW match, something that you did, like, taped already, that hasn't been shown yet, and that, like, you want people to look out for specifically.
Yeah, I mean, really the only one right now that I could probably talk about is the Phoenix match. But, I'm super excited for that. It's on Tuesday at 7. So, we have a really good match. So I'm really excited for people to see it. And in the future, I also have another match that I recorded Saturday, actually. It's just a little show down in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it's an empty arena match. It's against a guy named Adam Priest, who is a young up-and-comer, and I'm super excited for that to be put on YouTube. So that's just a small little thing that, I'm pretty excited to come out. After that, I honestly don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to tell the future right now. It's really hard to see what you have coming up. Obviously, I have my promotions, like my home promotions that I'll probably be going back to when the time comes. But I honestly have no idea what's coming up. Luckily, I've had 7 matches since the quarantine started, which I think is I think that's better than a lot of people. So I'm really grateful. I've gotten to wrestle 7 different times.
Mm-hmm. Final AEW question. Tell me 3 guys, and I know you already mentioned Darby Allin, so let's take Darby Allin out. 3 guys that you would like to wrestle that you haven't wrestled yet in AEW.
Gotcha. I have actually wrestled this guy before, but it was on the indie. But I'd really like to wrestle Marco Stunt on an AEW show. I think that'd be really fun. He's a super nice guy. So I'd love to get in the ring with him. MJF, obviously, he's just a great heel. He's everything that you want in a wrestler. So him, obviously. And if I had to pick one more, it'd probably have to be Don Moxley.
Uh-huh.
That's my dude. So, he was one of my favorite when he was in WWE, and I think he's killing it right now in AEW. So, I definitely have to put him on the list.
All right, so I'm gonna make this a 2-part question. Tell me the experiences backstage with a few of the AEW wrestlers. If you could give me like some idea of like if you had an interaction with MJF, or you had an interaction with Moxley, Cody.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is super nice back there. I've talked about this before, where I think that just it's like the most welcoming locker room. Without giving too much away, like everybody is just super nice and welcoming. Like nobody, I don't think anybody is all high and mighty on themselves, and nobody thinks that if you're just an extra or whatever, that you're a piece of shit. Like I think everyone is super nice and inviting. Scorpio Sky is legit like one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. I don't want to ruin his gimmick or anything, but Jimmy Havoc is the same way. He's a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just all those guys. They're all super nice. And I've been in Ring of Honor locker rooms, NXT, Raw, SmackDown. And I definitely think the AEW locker room is the most friendly and the most inviting of all of them,
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us the experience in NXT and Raw. Tell us some of the WWE experiences that you had.
Yeah, it's just really so. I don't want to say intimidating, because I try my best not to let anything overtake me like that. I try not to be overwhelmed or anything, but at the same time, it's WWE. It's a huge production. AEW is as well. Don't get me wrong. AEW, when you're backstage there, it's a big deal. And you can tell it's a big deal. But WWE is just such a huge production, and it's just so just overwhelmingly big, and the catering is insane. They have anything that you could ever want in catering.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an insane amount of food. they have everything from your main entrees, vegetables, fruits, desserts, anything you want to drink, and it runs the whole show. It never stops. They never stop delivering food. So it's a pretty crazy experience going to a WWE show. When you're sitting in catering, because a few times that I went, mostly I just sat in catering. I think I had one spot on Raw where I was a security guard, and I ended up getting punched in the face by Ronda Rousey, which was very real, So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. NXT is kind of completely different. It's really cool, and it's just cool to see what all these guys do. Even the guys that aren't on the actual show. They're all sitting in that big conference room. You might have seen on documentaries or whatever. And you just watch the show from there. And there's no catering at NXT. There's food trucks, so you got to go outside and buy your own food. But that's pretty cool. And you just sit out there and you sit in the conference room and you watch the show, and that's pretty much it. So yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, before I get to my next question, I do want to ask you, since you brought it up, Ronda Rousey. How was that? How was the? Because that's what they look to get intimidating. How would you say you being next to Ronda Rousey, knowing that, and I don't want to sound mean, but this is a fact. She was starting out to be a wrestler. She didn't really know her own strength at the time, and I know there was a lot of backstage stuff going on. How did it feel for you, as an actual wrestler and entertainer? She was more of MMA, real, actually, feeling to hurt someone. How did that feel, knowing that you had to be in I want to say, a storyline with her?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, MMA fighters switching over to wrestling. I think it adds some legitimacy to the sport, and I think, if you can step in the ring with an MMA fighter and, do your thing with them, it definitely adds credibility to you and to your character. Ronda Rousey, she was super nice, and all it was she was on top of somebody, beating somebody down. I went to go pull her off, and she swiped me off and decked me in the face. It was a cool experience, to say the least. And like I said earlier, I'm all for the fighting aspect of wrestling. I really like the idea of just two people going out there and fighting. So the more real it looks, the better it is, in my opinion. That's why I like guys like a Daniel Bryan or whoever. So I'm all for it, man. As long as you don't knock anybody out, and as long as you're not super unsafe, it's all good with me,
Mm-hmm. So here's a question that I don't know that much information on, but I saw it on one of your social media posts. I believe it was on Instagram. It's a picture of you and Will Ospreay. Have you ever actually had a match with Will Ospreay?
No, that would actually probably be a guy that would be dream match for me. I love Will Ospreay. He's dope. I think he's legit one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. I don't think there's a lot of guys above him. Because he can do all the flips and all the whatevers, but his storytelling is great. His facial expressions are great. His selling is great. I think he has all the tools, and now he's he's 220 pounds or something like that. He's huge for his size. So I think he has all the tools. He's definitely one of my dream match opponents. No, that was from an Evolve. I was still training at the WWA 4 at the time, and we got to do a little extra spot for Evolve. I don't want to say it was an extra spot. It was like the Skulk, as part of the Skulk. AR Fox has his posse that he comes out with. They're called the Skulk, and I was part of it. And that was the night he wrestled Will Ospreay, and we got to do a short little spot with him on the outside where he duck dodged and evaded us and stuff like that. So we ended up getting a picture afterwards because Will Ospreay's dope.
All right. Well, here's a question that's like kind of a hunch. Have you ever done anything for Impact Wrestling?
No, that's probably one of the only promotions I've never really as far as well, I guess there's a few, huh? But no, I've never done anything for Impact now.
All right. Well, tell us the ROH experience, the ROH locker room and experience.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too. I've done a few things with Ring of Honor now. Before I was just like a streamer guy. I think I did that once or twice. And then one time, we came out with Kelly Klein, who was the Ring of Honor Women's Champion at the time, and we were like her little posse. We were like the Klein crew or whatever we were called. We had these like track suits, and we came out with her, and we stood at ringside with her, and we ended up doing a spot or something. I'm not quite sure what we did. But that locker room is pretty cool, and everyone's super nice there as well. Yeah.
All right. Tell me what you prefer more, 6-man or tag matches or singles competitors. What kind of match is your ideal match? If it's a ladder match, table match, battle royale, anything.
Obviously I wouldn't want to do it every week, but I really do enjoy doing street fights and hardcore matches and stuff like that. I'm not like a death match guy. I don't want people to misconstrue that, but I think when you're in a street fight or a hardcore match or whatever, it just opens the table for doing whatever you want. There's so many more possibilities to just being able to really paint that canvas, if you will. You can do whatever you want, and it's just a fun opportunity. And obviously, like I said, I wouldn't want to do it every week because those matches do take a toll on you, and getting hit with stuff isn't very fun sometimes. But like I said, it's just another way to express your art, as I like to say. I also like just doing singles matches. I like a good classic wrestling match. They're always just, it's the easiest way to do it, and it's the easiest way to tell a really good story. Just you and one other guy just going toe to toe. I think that there's nothing more, I guess, like traditional than just two people going out there and settling a score. It's the easiest way to tell a story. And I also think the tag team wrestling, especially nowadays, is super underrated. I would love to find I've been in a few tag teams. Haven't really found one that I really mesh with very well. But if you can find the right guy, and if you guys are on the same page, tag team wrestling is some of the most fun wrestling that you can have.
All right, so hypothetical, if I gave you a guy from AEW, anyone from AEW, who would you put as a tag partner?
AEW, good question. Probably Darby Allin. I think me and his styles are pretty similar, All
right, and now if I said he could face any tag team, it doesn't have to be AEW, it could be anyone from Impact, anyone from WWE, etc. Who would be the 3 tag teams you would love to face?
Good question. Probably the Revolt, or the Revival. The Revolt, as they're known now.
I hate that name because Caleb Conley also has the Revolt, so it's always so hard.
Right.
All right, the Revival.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, man, that sucks. Yeah, I would hate that. But yeah, they would be on that for sure because they're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Probably. Another like kind of generic answer would be the Bucks. They're on the top of their game, and I also really like LAX, or Proud and Powerful is what they're called now. So yeah.
All right. Now, with our final question is basically, what would you want, the fans that are listening to get the main message from you? What would be your main message?
My main message would probably be, if you've ever wanted to do anything in life, just do it. Take a chance on yourself, because if you don't, you never know. You might have been really good at it, or you might have really succeeded in it, and if you don't take that chance, then you'll never know, and you'll beat yourself up for the rest of your life. So, take that chance.
All right, now tell people where they can find you and where your merch is.
So I'm gonna have a Pro Wrestling Tees store up soon, hopefully. So you can check that out. I'll be posting my links on my social medias, and my social medias are on Twitter, I'm Allen_Angels, and on Instagram, I'm Allen_Angels_.
All right, thank you so much, man. Everyone, if you like this video, please comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on the All Real Wrestling Podcast. Wow, what an awesome listen. I told you guys that there's talent in everybody. And when I saw Allen, when I saw what he did with Kenny Omega, when I saw what he did with Sammy Guevara, what he did with the entire AEW roster, I knew he would be a star. So I signed him up. I got him on the phone. I said, let's do an interview because I know you're going to be big. And look at that. Dark Order, number 5. He's on a weekly AEW show. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to support me in any way, all my information is in the bio below. Please check out my other videos, and I'll see you guys next time.